It sucks. Be the person who's never chosen. It's not even about wanting to be in a relationship. It's not even about wanting like sleep with everyone or do all these things. Not feeling desired does psychological warfare to you, because when everyone chooses everyone else except you, like the last kid being chosen for soccer. Why am I the last one being chosen? The common denominator is obviously me, and then it just makes you feel bad. People are like, oh, self-love this, self-love that. Like, yeah, okay, I do love myself. But it'd also be nice to feel desired by other people other than myself. You know, self-love is like freaking cauliflower wings. They taste good, they're delicious, they're nice if you want a crispy fried snack, but if you craving chicken wings, the cauliflower wings are not gonna cut it. They're gonna be good, they're gonna be alright, but it's not the same thing. I want to walk into a room and people will be like, oh, wow, that girl. But instead, I'm the person where people grow to like me. They're like, oh, she's so funny, she's so nice, she's so kind. People like me for my personality. I miss the personality, which is fine. Just saying, everyone get to experience all these different things, all these different experiences. Or when you're at the bar and everyone's flirting with everyone except you, and you're just standing there alone, awkwardly. You have to go to the bathroom. What else are you supposed to do? No one's talking to you. Everyone's talking to everyone else. I don't know. Anyway.
I'm 22 years old and I've never had a boyfriend. I've never been asked on a date. I've never had my first kiss. Like, no one's ever been romantically interested in me before, which is really sad because literally all I want in my life is love. I want love. Like, romantic love, you know? Like, that is like such a dream, and I love looking at people on TikTok and they're a cute couple, you know, whatever. But then I also get super sad because I'm like, will that even happen for me? Like, I know I'm 22 and I'm young, but I never even had like a boyfriend in high school when everyone else around me was dating, so. But you know, if God wants to send me someone, you know, just to test the waters on like, is she ready to date? I would appreciate it. And if you're in the same boat as me, I'm sorry you are, but I'm glad you're here. I think we'll find love someday. I think the perfect person will be sent to us. But you know, it also kind of sucks because like, of course, like I want love and all those things. It just makes you feel like steps behind people, out of the loop almost. Like, what am I doing wrong? Why aren't people interested in me? Am I ugly? Am I too chubby? You know, like those sort of things. Is my personality too much? And it just makes me like overthink those things, and then it makes me hate myself. So, I don't really know where this rant came from. I just want love. I just want love. That's all I want.
Okay guys, so I am scrolling through TikTok, crying on the trend like I always do, and then I had a quick moment where I'm like, wow, am I ever gonna find love like these couples I see on TikTok? And I hate to like compare or, you know, whatever when it comes to social media, but a lot of things I see on TikTok has never happened to me, dating wise, relationship wise. Like, I be seeing shit like, wow, he really love her, like he's doing that. The lover in me is just slowly dying.
I want to speak to a very specific brand of Black girl who is used to feeling overlooked and unseen. It is a theme that has followed you your whole life. It has low-key shaped your personality in how you even show up in spaces, because you've never been the one that's been like picked first and chosen first. It's always been like you feel like an afterthought. I identify with that because I am that girl. I feel like so much of my life has been behind a veil. And as I've gotten older, I definitely know now that it was God protecting me. So while I do thank God for his protection, I also feel very encouraged that this is a season for the overlooked and unseen Black girls to come out of hiding. But the crazy thing about this feeling is that God is going to use the very thing that we've been picked on about, the thing that was our biggest insecurity. That's the thing that God is going to use to bring us out of hiding. Your time in hiding is coming to an end. I know it was comfortable, but it's time for your people to find you.
It's Bree. Welcome back to my channel. I'm back with another video, and I am here to talk about a topic that I've seen circling around online, and I guess you could also consider this to be a video that is a follow-up from a previous video that I did on the channel where I talked about being the ugly friend. That was a video that blew up. I think it's one of my highest viewed videos on the channel, and it's interesting how people took that video video, I think for the most part people understood the point that I was trying to make, but the point went over a lot of people's heads. A lot of people missed the quotations that were in the title. A lot of people felt like it was an invitation to give me tips or give me pointers, and I'm like, y'all pretty much missed the entire point of that video. So this will give me another opportunity to kind of explain the whole premise of what that video was about, which was this idea of, you know, not being chosen and not being picked when it comes to, you know, the dating scene. And this is a conversation that I've had among friends, and it's something that I've always struggled to explain to people, because right now we're kind of in this era right now in dating where it's a little weird. You know, a lot of people have very strong opinions about how you should date and how you should show up in relationships, and people have a lot of critiques, if you will, of how other people choose to show up and, you know, how they choose to go about dating and things like that. And I think a lot of people have come to this point where they're kind of just tired. They're kind of just tired of the current dating scene, and they're taking a step back, and, you know, they're looking at it through a different lens. And for me, I've had a lot of people try to push me and encourage me into dating, and, you know, I've made it a point to try and tell people like, hey, like, that's not kind of where my head's at. I'm not really focused on that right now. I understand it's coming from a good place in terms of people want to see me happy, and, you know, I've said time and time again on camera that I don't enjoy being single. It's something that I've come to deal with. It's something that, you know, like, I have other things that I can put my energy into and I can put my focus into. You know, right now I am prioritizing, you know, the friendships that I have in my life and kind of just doing me right now. But, you know, ultimately deep down, you know, I would prefer to be partnered, but that's also not my main focus at this given time. But you often find that when, you know, friends, family, and people around you, when they want you to kind of get out there, they feel the need to help you, to give you tips, to give you pointers. Same with even with the job hunting stuff, right? It's like, oh, if you don't have a job, then let me give you all these tips and pointers. And although the tips and the pointers can be nice, I think people tend to forget that everybody has a different experience, and sometimes it comes down to luck. Sometimes it just comes to who you are as a person, and that also applies to, you know, dating. People can't seem to understand the concept that different women have different experiences, and something that might work for one woman may not work for another, but ultimately different women have different experiences. And there are some women out there that, you know, dating comes very easy to them. Getting male attention comes very easy to them. They don't have to do much. Whereas with other women, not so much. And in the previous video that I made on the topic of being the ugly friend, the point of that wasn't to say that I'm ugly. I don't think that I'm ugly at all. The bigger point in that video was to discuss what my experience has been like based off of what society views as attractive. It's no secret that people, because I can't even just say women, just people that are viewed as more attractive, and yes, that can vary from, you know, where you come from. So I'm speaking from like an American perspective, a Black American's perspective, based off of how society views you and based off of how attractive society views you can determine how you are treated. It can determine how dating goes for you. It can determine a lot of different things. I often find that people who benefit from society treating them better because of their physical appearance, they, for whatever reason, they don't seem to comprehend that not everybody has that experience and not everybody can have that experience. Now, I'm a firm believer that everybody is beautiful to somebody. Everybody is attracted to somebody. There is somebody out there that will find you attractive. But when we're talking about the overall treatment that people receive, there are some people, unfortunately, in society that get overlooked, that get mistreated, and that don't get picked, that don't get chosen because of what society would deem as attractive or unattractive. Whether it's your body type, whether it's your skin tone, whether it's your hair texture. There's so many different things that society and even the media pushes as the standard of beauty. And if you don't fit that standard, if you don't fit that standard of beauty in terms of what the media portrays and in terms of what you see on social media, like the quote unquote Instagram baddie, if you don't fit these certain aesthetics, sometimes it can reflect in how you're being treated and how people view you.
I hate to break it to y'all, but whether you are pretty or ugly in this world, it decides how you are treated. I've spoken about this before and I'm gonna do it again because it's like some people don't understand that being considered ugly or like fat and so on really, really, really decides whether or not you're treated good or bad in a lot of situations. Why is the world built like this? I couldn't freaking tell you who decided that how you look depends on who gets treated like asshole and who doesn't, and then who decided who looks bad enough to get treated like asshole and who doesn't. But what I can tell you is pretty privilege and being treated badly based on your weight and looks definitely exists. I'm tired of people trying to act like it's not a thing, because it is. And not only is it beauty standards that decide this, let me tell you something right now, gender too. Different genders, I've noticed, find things prettier. That's why I believe guy pretty and girl pretty is a thing, because I 100% believe that guys find things pretty differently compared to how girls find things pretty, if that makes sense. I don't know why I explain it like that. How I hear my guy friends talk about women is completely different from how I hear girls talk about women. Completely different. And of course, I'm not saying all guys, this is my opinion from my personal experience, but like what I've noticed is a lot of guys just more go for a more conventional look and more appreciate a conventional look than women do. Then let's not even talk about the way society treats overweight females and females that are considered ugly or both, and tall females, any females that aren't considered feminine in any type of way. Like, let's talk about how tall the girls are considered more masculine and so on, and spoken about like the freaking masculine linebackers or something. And it's just not the case. You're as feminine and as masculine as you feel like being, okay, whether you're short or tall. And it's just so annoying how that is applied to women just because of their height or size. I'm a strong, firm believer in how you look affecting your daily life. And if you're considered ugly, apparently, ugly, I don't know who decides that, but yeah, sure, it can affect things like job opportunities, friendships, relationships, or self-confidence, of course, genuine opportunities, not even just like business opportunities, just opportunities in general, to try new things, to meet new people and so on. It can really affect so many things. How they depict that one pretty girl in like all the movies and so on, like she goes everywhere, all the guys are just on her feet, like, I'll buy this for you, I'll do this for you. Of course, it's over-exaggerated, but it's also not a lie. I just find it weird how beauty and looks means so much in this society, and if you don't fit a certain standard, you get treated like asshole. By the way, a standard that some random man or woman on a Tuesday sat down and said, I don't like that. That's ugly. I don't want that, but that. Oh wow, I want me some of that. But also, this is just my opinion and what I know from my own experience. So, you know. Okay, bye.
And I've seen more and more, women who feel as though that because they don't fit that standard, it's caused them issues with dating. They find that when they go out with friends, men will walk over and they'll talk to their friends, but they'll never get talked to. Or, they're the friend that a man will come up to get their friend's number. You have women that have those experiences. And I am someone that can relate to that. I typically am the friend that does get looked over. I'm not the person that gets approached when I'm out and about. It's always really frustrating trying to explain this to other women who don't have that same struggle, because to them it's like, oh well, it's probably because you're not smiling enough, it's probably because you're not doing this and you're not doing that. And it's like, or I just simply don't have the same experiences as you do. And listen, back when I was feeling extremely insecure about the fact that I at that time hadn't dated anybody and I didn't get a whole lot of male attention, it did get to me a lot when I was younger and when I was like in my super like early 20s. And it was to the point where when I would leave my house or leave my dorm, I would constantly have the thought of, okay, I need to show up in a way that's inviting, I need to show up in a way that's going to attract men. Like, it was literally like on the top of my mind all the time, down to to, again, how I showed up, down to what I would wear. I thought I had to wear certain things. That's why when people tell me like, oh, maybe if you showed more skin, or maybe if you would smile more, or maybe if you would do this or get out the house more, it'll just magically happen. It's like, no, that's your experience. I actually have had the experience of going out more and dressing a certain way and trying to be more, and I still got the same results. I still got the same result. I don't know why people think I literally like never leave the house or I never get done up. That's partly why I came on here trying to dress a little bit nice in this video, because when I made the previous video, I was wearing a Ninja Turtle shirt, and people had the nerve to be in the comments saying like, oh, well, this is probably why you can't get a man, because you're wearing a Ninja Turtle shirt. I actually did end up getting into a relationship with somebody that was fine with me dressing that way. They were cool with the graphic tees and me dressing casual. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But it's so frustrating when I'm trying to explain to other women who do benefit from pretty privilege. They don't understand that it is indeed a privilege, and it's a privilege that not everybody experiences. Because even to that point where like you can say that you think that someone should benefit from their looks, like you feel that they're attractive enough to get the benefits of, from how they look, but not everyone has that experience. And I've seen more and more women talk about them having a genuine fear of not being chosen or not being picked. Now, I no longer, this is a fear that I used to struggle with really, really bad. And it's a fear that came up in the demise of my last relationship, because it literally was like that but magnified, of like, yeah, I'm not picking you, I'm picking this person. And so I definitely went through that phase of insecurity, and it's still something that I'm going through and healing through to this day, where it's that feeling of not being good enough. It's that feeling of comparing yourself to other women who do get chosen and get picked. And I empathize with those women. I don't shame them. I often see people too being extremely judgmental of women who are brave enough to share their experiences and share that like, hey, like I want a partner, I want a companion, but I'm worried that no one is going to pick me, because based off of their experiences up until that point, it's only made that fear stronger, because they've been in situations where they've been overlooked, or they've been in situations where the guy that they like chose somebody else or chose their friend. And when you have experiences like that growing up and even into adulthood, it can manifest into a fear of like, well, dang, like, am I just not good enough? And again, I've had my own experiences with those feelings, especially growing up. Like, again, I didn't get a lot of male attention growing up. I didn't get a lot of male attention in college. I'm not saying I didn't get any, but it was like very like once in a blue moon. And I don't want to share too much of my personal business, but I will say too that even in like my freshman year of college, coming out of high school, I'm like, okay, I didn't have any luck with guys in high school. Maybe when I get to college, I'll have a better experience, right? And so when I got to college, there was this one guy that I had met back when I was in the game design program, and I thought things were going pretty okay, and things were progressing. But then at a certain point, he kind of just stopped talking to me, and that also has happened quite a bit. I've been ghosted quite often by guys. People always say women are the ones to ghost, but I've gotten ghosted a lot by men. And so he was one. And then there's this other guy that was in one of my classes that I actually liked, and I started talking to him a lot. We would always sit together in class, and it seemed like things were, going in a direction. And then next thing you know, there's this other girl who transferred into our class late, and she, I guess, also took a liking to him as well. And then they started getting close, and then next thing you know, I started getting phased out. They started, hanging out after class, and I would just get left behind. And so I've had a lot of those instances. And then I've also talked about too how overall I've just haven't been treated the best by men, both by men that I didn't know, men that I did know. Like, I've just have gotten very poor treatment. And that's not to say that men only treat women that they don't find that attractive horribly, because there's also plenty of women out there that are beautiful, stunning, that get done dirty as well. So I'm definitely not saying that. But again, just coming from somebody that hasn't had the best experiences with men, I can see why women would feel like, well, dang, like, am I just not good enough? Do men just not like me? Why do I keep being treated in this way? And coming out of my last relationship, you know, that's definitely a fear that I had to sit with and unpack, and that I'm still unpacking, of like that thought of, will there be another person? Like, am I going to have another relationship? Am I going to experience this again? Or was that just my one and only chance and that was it? You know, there's definitely that fear of, will there be someone out there that's willing to choose me? Because to be honest, I was shocked that my last relationship even happened. I was shocked that that person was even interested in me. That's also not to say too that that was the sole reason why I was with that person. I know that's probably an assumption too that people have, like, oh, so you just dated the first person that gave you a chance. No. There were other attributes about that person that I was seeking before coming to that conclusion. But not only is there that fear of necessarily being picked, but getting picked by someone that you pick, if that makes sense. Like, it's not even so much about having men being interested in you, it's having the men that you're interested in be interested in you. And then that goes into a whole nother conversation, because then you'll have people that'll say like, oh, well, you're just being picky, and oh, you want the best of the best, you want this 6-foot man. It's like, no. No. I think the same way that men have preferences, women are allowed to have preferences as well. It doesn't always have to be that they want this super rich, super fine, super tall dude. It's just a matter of attraction is important when it comes to both genders. It's not just men and it's not just women. Like, everybody deserves to be with somebody that they find to be attractive, and they deserve to be in a relationship where both people find each other to be equally as attractive to each other. And so I think that's more so the fear that a lot of these women have. It's that feeling of the men that they want never wanting them, or that's what their experience has been up until this point. And so it makes them feel checked out, and it makes them feel insecure that they can't ever get the guy that they want, because maybe they're not good enough or they don't look good enough to get that type of man. And when we're in this era of men going into these comment sections and tearing women down every chance they get, anytime they even mention wanting a preference or, you know, wanting a healthy relationship, you constantly have men wanting to humble them, telling them they need to settle, telling them they need to, you know, date a certain type of guy because the type of guy that they want they don't deserve. It's just really, really tough out here, and it's hard being able to have that vulnerability on the internet, because you have people that are quick to either blame them or say that they don't deserve the things that they want. And you know, it's really interesting seeing these conversations happen. But again, as somebody that has had that fear, I definitely get it. Like, especially again when you're someone that has had to lead with personality and not, you know, physical appearance, like that too. Like, there's almost that sense of like, dang, I have to like talk guys into liking me, or I have to convince them to like me because my looks alone won't do it. And I think that ultimately, like, everybody should lead with personality. Like, I think basing a relationship or basing anything off of just your looks alone is always going to be very shallow. I don't think a lot of the times like it ends up not working out anyway. But again, I definitely empathize with the women out there that feel like they're constantly being overlooked and they're not given a fair chance, or they have a harder time in dating because of them not being quote unquote, again, the Instagram baddie or whatever it is that society deems to be attractive. And I think there needs to be space held for those conversations. And instead of you telling these women, oh, well, if you would just, you know, dress differently, or the thing is, no one should have to change themselves to get male attention. And I think and if anything, y'all saying that is further proving our point, right? To say like, oh, you need to do this and do that and do this, and then maybe men will start talking to you. And it's like, well, that's literally the point that we're trying to make. There's other women out there who, again, they do benefit from pretty privilege, where they don't have to do much. They can show up in sweats in a bun and call it a day, and they will still get approached. They'll still have an easy time, you know, with dating. But then there's other women who y'all expect them to go above and beyond. It's like, no, y'all have to put on makeup. Y'all gotta make sure your hair is done. Gotta make sure your nails is done. Gotta make sure you're showing cleavage. You gotta make sure you're doing this, doing that, making sure that you're smiling constantly, because you can't ever not smile in public. Like, there's all these like toxic ideologies around how women should show up in order to even just like, forget even like getting a man, just being treated with respect. There's a lot of men out there who will often mistreat women that they don't find attractive. And it's like, how you treat somebody shouldn't be determined based off of how attractive you find somebody. You should treat everybody with kindness, regardless of if you find them attractive or not. But there's just some people that do that. And again, for the women that are dealing with this, a lot of them have also had that experience of just overall being mistreated by men in public. Whether it's they're walking down the street and they get, you know, shoved, or, you know, you'll hold the door for the woman in front of you who you don't know, but then when the door gets to me, you'll let it slam shut. That's happened to me several times. Or again, even that example I gave earlier of like, you know, you're with a group of your girlfriends and you're out having a good time. A man approaches the table and he'll only speak to certain women, but then he'll actively ignore you. That's an experience that a lot of women have. And I think saying that, oh, well, you should have been showing more cleavage, or you should have been like, all of that is like not okay. Like, women should be able to show up as their authentic selves, and whether or not you find them attractive should not determine how you treat them.
One of the things that my smaller friends or my friends that have never been in a bigger body struggle to understand is how different people treat you when you're bigger. I mostly experienced this from men in college, and when I was explaining it to one of my friends, she like just couldn't believe me. When I was in college in a bigger body, I would stand next to my friend who was more skinny or in the beauty standard. We would be talking to a guy and he would talk to her like she was there and not even look at me. It was like I didn't exist. And then I lost weight. And all of a sudden it was like I was actually in the room. Like, they would reintroduce themselves to me as if we hadn't known each other for all of college. Now, there's no shame to my smaller friends who have never experienced this. Of course they can't understand. But if you've experienced this too and you want to explain it to your friends that don't understand, what I would recommend is telling them this. Because I'm sure that they'll say, oh yeah, sometimes guys ignore me. They're not interested in me either. And it's different. Someone not being interested in you because you're not their type is so different from them acting like you literally are not in the room because they don't deem you worthy enough. They just automatically assume that you are less healthy, less interesting, less intelligent, less fun, whatever it is, because of what you look like. And that is heartbreaking. If you are the friend in a smaller body in this situation, then the best thing that you can do for people that are struggling with this is just to listen to us and believe us that this is what happens. It's okay if you haven't experienced it or you don't understand it or you can't imagine it. I am so happy you haven't had to deal with this. Let's just open this conversation and love each other a little bit better. Because no matter your body size, you deserve to feel like people want you around.
To all my conventionally unattractive girlies out there, what is the most disheartening?
I want to talk about this, but in fact, let's get into it. Now, I'm a baddie, so obviously all my friends are going to be baddies too. But they tend to end up being smaller baddies, which means I end up being the biggest baddie in the room usually. This dynamic has caused for a lot of awkward situations, and sometimes they're a little hurtful. I've been told that I'm pretty in the face. There have been times where I've seen men looking at me, but yet they walk up to my friend. I think the most hurtful example is this one. I got a dope ass personality. If we're hanging out places or kickbacks, bars, whatever, it's easy for me to become the life of the party because of my personality. There have been so many times where I'm talking and mingling with attractive men and we're getting along really well, we're laughing and joking, and I'm thinking something's about to pop off, all for them to ask for my friend's number because they're comfortable with me enough to now ask.
People that are deemed unattractive, they get treated the worst in the world. People that are deemed unattractive, their opinions does not matter, and they need to stay in their lane. People that are deemed unattractive have to go along with the joke, and if they don't want to go along with the joke, they get called insecure. Ain't that kind of funny? People that are deemed unattractive get treated like the scum of the earth. People that are deemed unattractive, when they're trying to tell their story, everybody look at it as a sad story and tell them that you need to woman up and you need to man up. But the reason why the other people, the pretty people, for what they call themselves, don't want to hear it because they're the ones that are causing that trauma towards that person because they talk about it. People that are deemed unattractive don't really get the opportunities as the pretty people. People that are deemed unattractive pretty much gotta watch what they say and gotta, watch what topic they gotta talk about. But somebody that is deemed pretty or handsome can talk about whatever they want. I know I'm not the only one that noticed that. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that people that are deemed unattractive are highly discriminated against.
And again, when people have talked to me, right, about dating and whatnot, people can't seem to comprehend that my experience is different from theirs. And so when I'm literally telling them, I'm like, hey, like this idea that, oh, you can get a man easy. Like that's a big one, right? Like, oh, you can get a man easily. Like, you don't have nothing to worry about. Like, you're fine. And it's like, well, no. And when I try to tell people that of like, hey, like I understand, like I appreciate people having high hopes for me, but when I'm expressing that like, hey, like I'm not the most confident that I'll find somebody else because it took such a long time just to find the last person that I was with, and I don't feel that I have that many options out there in comparison to other women, I often get shut down. My feelings are often invalidated, and people tell me that either it's because, again, I'm not leaving the house enough, or when I do leave the house, I have resting bitch face. I'm not inviting enough. I dress too casual. I need to dress more, provocatively, or I need to be showing more skin. I need to not wear glasses. I need to put in some contacts. Like, I get told all these different things. It's like, oh, if you do all of this, then you'll be fine. And it's like, yeah, but respectfully, if that's also not who I am as a person, why would I show up as someone that's not authentic to me? If I am going to attract somebody, I want to attract somebody based off of who I am as a person. And who I am as a person, I like to dress comfortably. Now, I'm not saying that, if I'm going out somewhere nice, that I'm going to be dressing up like I'm homeless. I'm not saying that. But yeah, if I'm going to Target or if I'm going to the grocery store, no, I'm not putting on a whole outfit for that. I'm not doing that. And I shouldn't have to do that either. And so, I often find like when I'm having these conversations with people, it's like, oh, well, you can't think that way. And there's stuff that you can do. And I'm like, y'all are not getting it. There are some women out there where like, yes, they can show up in a room with confidence. That's another thing too. They'll say like, oh, like you lack confidence. That's what it is. Even when I have had periods of my life where I was extremely confident and I showed up super confident, or I just felt good. Like I felt like I looked good and, I put on my best outfit. It still didn't change anything. And so this idea that, if a woman isn't attracting a bunch of men, that it's solely due to confidence. I'm sorry. There are just some women out there that no matter how much confidence they have, no matter what they're wearing, how much makeup they put on, they're not going to have the same exact experience as the next woman. Every woman is different. I don't like this era. Again, I talked about toxic positivity. This idea that everyone's a 10 and everyone can get the same access to the same amount of men. That's just, it's just not true. It's just not realistic. Like, and again, I think there is somebody for everybody, right? I think that there are people out there who they're gonna be a 10 to somebody, but to say that, like, I'll just give an example. You have men that are in the NBA, right? There are certain types of women that men in the NBA look for, right? To say that every single woman on this planet has equal opportunity to get a man that is in the NBA, I think is very naive and I think is very unrealistic. I don't believe that to be true. And so, whereas you might be somebody that, you can pull a guy from the NBA, you can pull any guy that you want, congratulations to you. But don't invalidate your friend who doesn't have that same experience, and also don't blame them for not having that same experience. Yeah, I don't know. I get really frustrated with these whole dating conversations because I'm just like, everybody's not gonna have the same experience, and not all advice is gonna apply to everybody. And sometimes you just have to accept the fact that there's just some people out here who just aren't lucky and who just don't have certain privileges that other people have. And the same way that women have pretty privilege, I can recognize that men have a level of privilege when it comes to finances, right? There are some men out there who, because of their bank account, they can get access to certain women. Whereas men who maybe have jobs that, you know, come with a lower salary, you could argue that their access and their availability to certain women is limited. And it's the same way with women and their physical appearance. Because of how some women appear, they don't have the same access, or they don't have the same ease of attracting men and getting men to be interested in them.
Men know that they are providers. A man's value is his money and his career, and a woman's value is her looks. That's the fucking truth, and that's the world that we live in. Women get things because they are pretty, and men have power because they have money. And if you want a good-looking woman, you're going to be spending money.
Not every man wants a quote-unquote good-looking woman. Like, some men just want normal women.
Yeah, men without money.
That's not true. I'm not dating a woman that's above a 7. Like, I'm just being real.
But if you could afford it, you would.
Like, what's crazy is, like, when you really start making money, you see how people's attitude really changes towards you. Like, all that stuff they say, like, when you get money, like, the girls and stuff, they start to come out of nowhere. People start trying to call you, text you out of nowhere, bro. That's really true. But I kind of look at it as, like, kind of like how you would look at crypto. Like, when Bitcoin was freaking 60 cents, nobody looked at it as a valuable commodity. But now, when it's over like 60,000, now everybody wants it. And it's kind of like that's how people are going to start to look at you. Everybody wants a piece of it. Everybody wants to figure out how they can buy in. Now it's the biggest thing on the news. And when that time comes for you, just like Bitcoin does, tell them, my price is too high. You can't reach me now, baby. You wasn't calling me back then. Keep that same energy.
And I know I'm going to get comments saying like, oh, well, not all attention is good attention. And a lot of the women who do benefit from pretty privilege, they get a lot of men who, you know, are not right for them or are only interested in them because of their looks. And yes, listen, there's pros and cons to everything in life, right? And so, yeah, one could argue that even the women that are attracting men because of their physical appearance, they may not be attracting the best type of men either. And I acknowledge that as well. But the main point that I'm trying to make here is that people have to stop being so insensitive and invalidating the experiences of women and men who feel as though they keep being overlooked and overpicked for other people because of things outside of their control. Not everybody can wake up one day and become super attractive or become a billionaire or whatever things that people put value in when it comes to dating, right? And so people are going to have different experiences. And so, again, I feel for these women, and as someone too that has never benefited from pretty privilege, as someone who has gotten looked over, who's gotten ghosted, who doesn't get approached, especially in person. Like, again, I have friends who in their mind they're looking dusty, but they can go out, men are giving them their phone numbers, they're being asked out on dating. Like, if there are women out there who, if they wanted to go on a date this weekend, they could do it no problem. And there's other women out there who it's not as easy for them, you know. So at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, not every woman can pull like a Michael B. Jordan, and not every man can pull, I don't know, a Beyonce. And people have mentioned, you know, people have opinions about Jay-Z and feeling like, well, you know, Jay-Z, again, I'm not saying this is my personal opinion, these are the opinions of the internet. I've seen people say that Jay-Z is not the most attractive guy out there, but he's extremely successful and he has money. And now I'm not saying that that's why Beyonce chose to be with Jay-Z, but again, it boils down to just that privilege. Like, just some people have more privileges in the dating space than other people, and I wanted to validate that as someone that has also had that experience, but someone that has also not necessarily gotten into arguments with people, but I feel like there's just a lot of people out there who they literally can't comprehend because that's their only experience. Their only experience is, yeah, I can get a guy to talk to me easy. It should be easy for you too. No, it's not. And that's okay. Also, that's okay. I've come to terms a long time ago with who I am and what I look like. I've come to terms with that a long time ago. I'm very comfortable in my own skin. I'm very comfortable with how I look, even though I may have moments of like, dang, like, am I gonna get another opportunity to be with somebody that I'm attracted to that's also attracted to me? That does come across my mind as I'm navigating, like, you know, what this next chapter of my life looks like, and as I am continuing to focus on me. For the most part, there is that element of like, okay, if I were to decide to get back into dating, what is that even gonna look like? You know, is that going to cause more insecurity in me if I can't find somebody easily, or if I'm not really being asked out on dates like that? Like, is that gonna open up another level of insecurities that I'm gonna have to work through? I don't know. But yeah, like, even with that, like, you know, I say that I'm focusing on myself because I'm 100% am, but I also can't sit here and say that the opportunity has presented itself, because it hasn't. Even if I wanted to start dating already, even if I wanted to be in another relationship already, that opportunity hasn't even presented itself. So, you know, even with people wanting to push me so heavily into dating, is like, I mean, with who? You know, with who? And, you know, it's just, I don't know, it's complicated. You know, I did want to make this video just to kind of validate anyone out there that feels like their experiences with dating is very different from other people who may be feeling a little bit insecure, or feeling like, you know, why can't I get these particular people to be interested in me? I totally feel that. I totally empathize with that. And the truth of the matter is like, yeah, everybody doesn't get picked. Everybody doesn't get chosen. And I've experienced that throughout my entire life, not even just with relationships, but also in friendships. I've experienced it plenty in friendships, plenty, where I've been in friend groups where I've slowly been phased out. You know, I've lost a lot of friends because they would meet somebody else that they felt like they were more aligned with, or they were more similar to, and so they just naturally, well, I say naturally, became closer to because they had similar interests, and so I kind of just got pushed to the side. I've been in several situations where, you know, I've been overlooked because of someone else, and, you know, it does get hard to not compare yourself to other people, especially when you see other people having those experiences that you want for yourself. It's hard to not compare. It's hard to not get into your head about, you know, oh, well, why can't that be me, or why am I not deserving of that? And the thing is, everyone is deserving of that, but I think we also have to be honest in the fact that not everybody has the same experiences, not everybody has the same privileges, and I want to extend grace and compassion for those people that are navigating that, and people who are having to, you know, work through insecurities and maintain their self-esteem despite how they've been treated, despite how they've been overlooked for others. It's really tough.
People with a history of never being chosen to be a part of anything will always jump at the first opportunity that they have to feel included, whether it's good or bad, whether it's hurtful or not. And the conversation goes deeper than race. It spills into, you know, body weight, height, socioeconomic backgrounds. So unfortunately, we cannot expect everyone to be on the right side of a situation, because for so long their opinion didn't really matter, and for so long they were counted out and they were ignored and they were looked over. But now that's changed. They finally have the opportunity to be on stage, whether it's in a negative or positive light. They just want to be on stage. And while that's actually more sad than anything, I don't think that's ever going to change within society. When you've been starving for so long, you'll eat anything, right?
I have literally never in my life been anybody's first choice, other than my mom. I was talking to God the other day, kind of about just how I've been feeling. I'm like, God, why is it that I just keep seeing this recurring pattern of never being anyone's first choice? Growing up, I was always the friend that everybody forgot to invite, and I used to just never go out. And like, even now as an adult, I kind of just see that other friends are always the priority over me, but like nobody ever prioritizes being my friend. I've only ever been in one relationship, but even in the course of like all the guys that I have talked to, like it always just seems like there's something else that comes before me. It's honestly a pretty awful feeling, but as I was talking to the Lord, God was just like, I have always chosen you first, and the way that people choose you is not a reflection of whether or not I choose you. He was basically saying, like, I chose you first when I created you. I chose you first when you got into your university. I chose you first when you found your new car. I chose you first when you got your new job. So basically, I just say that to say that you are always going to be God's first choice. It doesn't matter how people treat you here on earth. Like, you're always going to be God's first choice, and God's always going to make sure that you're straight, even if nobody else does. If you're feeling like the second option or the third option, or me personally, I feel like the fourth option, but if you ever feel like that, like, really just present it in prayer. I'm in an inner healing class right now, and I've been working through like a lot of things emotionally, but really just present it in prayer, because the Lord will reassure you every single time that you are his first option.
And what doesn't help is the internet telling them that it's their fault. Is people telling them like, oh, well, if you did this, or if you acted this way, or if you changed this about yourself. No, everyone deserves to be accepted for who they are. But unfortunately, not everybody is, you know, especially if you're someone that, again, doesn't align with what is popular. I've talked about time and time again how me just simply being an introvert has caused me a lot of issues in friendships, in relationships, and in the workplace. I have gotten mistreated so badly in the past just because of me being an introvert, because I'm not somebody that needs to be the center of attention. I'm not somebody that needs to talk constantly. I'm not somebody that needs to be at every single party and talking to a bunch of people, because that's not me at my core. But because being an extrovert is pushed so heavily on society, and extroverts are preferred in society, they get treated better, they get better opportunities, they're put in the forefront, they're treated so much better than introverts, and then introverts are often bullied into being extroverted. And people often look at being an introvert as a character flaw that needs to be fixed. Again, similar to if you dress comfortably, or if you know, do certain things, like people will often judge you based off of who you are, and they look at it as something that's like off-putting or something that needs to be fixed. And it's like, at the end of the day, I'm always going to be an introvert. I'm always going to be an introvert. I'm always going to be a homebody. Granted, I've been getting out the house more. I've been doing more, but at my core, I enjoy just, you know, being in spaces where it's, you know, not too many people. And, you know, like I have a very short social battery, and that's something that has made people distance themselves from me. It's been a reason why people have chosen to not be with me romantically. Like, just because of who I am as a person, it's been a turn off, and it's made people not even want to give me a fair chance. And I think that's how a lot of women out there are feeling when it comes to just who they are as a person. If it doesn't align with what's preferred in society, they often feel like they're being left out, they're not being chosen, and they're not being given a fair chance. And that's a hard thing to deal with. That's a hard thing to work through while still trying to be, you know, confident and have that high self-esteem. It's hard to maintain that when society is telling you or making you feel like there's something wrong with you, and who you are is not good enough. It's not good enough to have a relationship. It's not good enough to have a close group of friends. It's not good enough to be promoted at your job. When you're constantly being made to feel like who you are is not enough, that's really, really tough. And so, you know, I really feel for people out there that are dealing with that. You know, and even in me thinking about like what advice to give, you know, I'm not going to give the generic advice of, you know, well, just don't care what people think and just focus on yourself, because that's not realistic. Especially if it's like your day to day, it's going to be something that bothers you. It's going to be something that is going to be at the top of your mind. But I would just say try to focus on areas of your life that make you feel fulfilled, right? I would say to try and surround yourself around people that do make you feel good, but also people that will also validate you. You know, people that'll make you feel valid in how you feel while still making you feel good about, you know, who you are as a person and how you show up as a person, and reassuring you that you are enough just as who you are. And I'm here to do that as well. You know, for anyone out there that feels like they aren't enough, that, you know, they aren't being chosen by people, I'm here to tell you, as someone who's also been overlooked their entire life, which plays into why I even made a YouTube channel. Actually, you know, part of why I even made a YouTube channel is because I felt like I wasn't being heard and I wasn't feeling seen. And so I'm like, let me find a community of people who actually care about what I have to say, that actually look forward to hearing my thoughts, that actually make me feel seen and make me feel validated. That was the reason why I made this channel, was so not only I could feel that way, but also so I could allow for others to feel that way as well. And so I would encourage everybody to seek out that type of community that allows you to feel validated in your experiences, and, you know, just take it one day at a time. I know people will often say like, oh, well, just don't think about trying to find a man, or don't think about trying to find a woman, or don't stress about trying to make friends, like it'll just come. And listen, I also get tired of hearing that, but as someone that is slowly starting to find my tribe of people, I will say that it will come, but I know that that waiting period sucks, and that feeling of like, well, is it gonna come? Like, am I gonna find my people? It's tough. It's a tough thing to be in and to sit in, but, you know, again, just pour into you, pour into things that do make you feel good about yourself, and do your best to seek out that community of people that can also make you feel good about yourself, that can reassure you, and that can validate, you know, your experiences. I'm also an advocate of therapy if you can afford it. You know, my therapist is really good at making me feel like I'm not crazy and making me feel valid in my experiences and how I feel about certain things. And so, you know, again, if you can afford to, I would also highly recommend therapy for anyone that's battling with self-esteem issues. And yeah, you know, I hope this video helps. I feel like I rambled a lot in this video, so I don't know if what I said made a whole lot of sense, but yeah, I wanted to come on camera and talk about that, because that's something that has been a difficult conversation to have with friends who just may not get it and may not understand it. So if anyone else out there who may have been feeling, you know, invalidated in their experience, I'm hoping that this video helps you to feel more validated and seen. And so yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you guys go ahead, give it a big thumbs up, and feel free to comment down below any other topics you guys want me to cover on this channel. And as always, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys in the next video.